oh man, do we have a live show for all of you Vikings fans today as we're getting some bombshell reports coming in from Ben Gessling and other reporters around the Minnesota Vikings on two fronts. Apparently, Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, their jobs are safe in the Vikings organization. And also, apparently Kevin O'Connell has had a lot of say in the recent drafts for the Minnesota Vikings. So pretty much there will be no major changes in this Vikings organization. The Wilfs are more than okay staying with all they are right now, and we got a lot to talk about on today's show. But hey, J.J. McCarthy's back this week. He's officially cleared concussion protocol. So if you guys are excited to watch number 9 play some football this week, hit me with those skulls down below. But man, oh man, this reporting coming out here from Ben Gessling. We'll share with you guys the quotes and we'll dive into today's show. But he is pretty much suggesting that the Minnesota Vikings, their ownership group, is more than okay riding this out with Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah after having a disastrous season so far. But hey, no changes. We're good with where we are. And the Vikings just more than okay with just, again, they're not even mediocre this year, but they're just cool with staying middle of the pack and having no real changes after having truly one of the worst off seasons in franchise history, having one of the most disastrous seasons in franchise history. And Kwesi and KOC, their jobs are safe. It's all good. Hey, it's all sunshine and rainbows in Minnesota right there, right now. There's nothing wrong going on. You just won 14 games a season ago. Now you're in the thick of it. But hey, the ownership group, no changes to these two guys. And I'll ask you guys this. Who is more to blame? As we'll also dive in to also a report coming out that Kevin O'Connell apparently has had a lot of say in the recent drafts for the Minnesota Vikings, which, again, we knew this. Like, this is no shocker to me that KOC had his say in the quarterback change and who they wanted to draft. I'm sure he wanted Ty Felton. It is just a truly dysfunctional organization. I think I can say for the first time covering the Minnesota Vikings that they are dysfunctional because they have never been this dysfunctional ever, because they have always been a well-run organization. They've always been a good organization. They've never been great. But again, no changes coming up. So that's a bombshell news here. Apparently these two jobs are safe in the Vikings organization. The head coach, the GM's not going anywhere, and I guarantee you the major change we're going to see, Matt Daniels, the special team coordinator, is going to be fired. Chris Kuper, the offensive line coach, is going to be fired, and that's going to change everything in the organization. It's just truly, truly bad. As Austin saying, yo, Patrick, I wanted Derek Queen, and the Bulls ended up messing up once again. Don't even get me started on the Bulls. There's a report out there that Giannis wants to come to Chicago, and the Bulls apparently don't want him, which is just incredible. Iowa Herman saying, do you think we should draft a new quarterback next year first? I do not. Even the Vikings, we'll see if they need a quarterback depending on how well J.J. McCarthy plays for the rest of the year. But they're just I just don't think they're even considering drafting a quarterback. But we will talk about the Vikings potentially drafting a running back here, and that being Jeremiyah Love. Xander, it was shout out to Xander for tuning into a weekly live show. Xander, this one guy named Lou Canalist was on 670 The Score today, and he said Giannis's representatives reached out to the Bulls about potentially him coming to Chicago, and the Bulls said no because they don't want to shake up their young core. It is the most dysfunctional organization in all of sports in a major city, and they're just doing Bulls things. But you guys let me know, should the Vikings draft Jeremiyah Love? Give me a deeper draft. Give me a P for pass. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I've kind of got mixed thoughts on this, and I'll kind of go more into it on our second segment on today's live show. Like, I think Jeremiyah Love's an absolute stud. He kind of reminds me of he's a little less athletic than like a Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's a little more physical, but he kind of has that same hip fluidity that Jahmyr Gibbs has. But this guy would be a workhorse back. He would be one of the best backs in the league from day one. I think he's been the best player in college football this season, carrying that Notre Dame team. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Would you draft Jeremiyah Love? We'll talk about recent mock draft. Dane Brugler dropped one, pretty tapped into NFL draft analyst, and he did have the Vikings taking Jeremiyah Love at number 11. So we'll talk about that here coming up. But also the bombshell news here. Apparently Kevin O'Connell, he's controlling drafts. Apparently his job is safe. We got a lot to talk about on today's show. We'll also talk about the Vikings draft, dive into Mel Kiper's big board, dive into a mock draft, and then we'll have a mailbag coming up. So if you guys want to get your questions up on the show, use hashtag Vikings in the comments section, or if you guys want to super chat, support the show, please do just that. But if you guys are ready to rock and roll, hit that thumbs up icon. We got almost 200 people in the building tuning in, so that's awesome stuff. But if you guys are ready to rock and roll, hit that thumbs up icon. And once we get to 30 likes, We'll start today's show talking about the bombshell news that apparently Kevin O'Connell is controlling drafts, and apparently his job and Kwesi's job are safe because, again, his team is more than fine being mediocre. And I will call out a couple people here. Number one, Vikings fans. Actually, no, not Vikings fans. Media members who ask these questions to Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi. I was just watching Joe Schoen and the Giants GM. He did a press conference, and these beat reporters and these media members were completely drilling him with questions. They were not letting him get out there alive. They were asking the hard-hitting questions, and I was watching that. I'm just like, why can't we have that in Minnesota? Like, why can't people just press Kevin O'Connell on the issue of why aren't you running the ball? Why are you so bad in short yardage situations? They'll ask him like a softball question, and KOC will give some long answer, just kind of BSing around it. But then nothing will change. Nothing will change. Yeah, I did see the Joe Schoen interview. I respect the hell out of the Giants beat reporters and media members for actually asking tough questions. But hey, in Minnesota, it's all good. Nothing's gonna change. Nothing will ever change, and it's just a complete joke. But I do want to dive into the first segment here because we got some bombshell reports that I want to talk about. It's just a disaster. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you guys could, give me those skulls down below in the comment section, and let's dive into it. Kunaga, we'll get to that after the first segment. I just want to dive into this first, but I appreciate you. We'll dive into that. We'll also talk about that on the mailbag, but shout out to Kunaga in the building. But let's dive into it. If you guys are ready to rock and roll, give me a skull down below. We got some bombshell reports to dive into on today's edition of Vikings Out by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and I appreciate all of you guys for tuning into today's show. So this bombshell reports around the Vikings drafts, and apparently Kevin O'Connell having a lot to say in those draft picks. And also second half of today's show, KOC talked about J.J. McCarthy, what he wants to see from him during the remaining 5 games of the Viking season, and also another bombshell report on apparently KOC and Kwesi's job being safe. I got a lot to say on this, but let's just talk about this new report coming out there per multiple sources as they are saying that Kevin O'Connell has had a massive say in drafts for the past couple of years per sources. Now, this is no shocker to me. Like, we knew this, and I think it would be naive to say that KOC did not have a huge hand in the picks that the Vikings have made over the last couple of years, because we understand Kevin O'Connell is the most influential. He is the most important person, player, coach in the Vikings organization by far. His camp, his representatives put out that BS report before the Week 18 game against the Detroit Lions saying pretty much if he didn't get that contract extension, he could be traded. And I think it would be completely naive to say KOC does not have a say in Vikings personnel decisions. If you think Kwesi is just going AWOL and he is just going rogue in a lot of the Vikings draft picks, you're naive to say that. This man right here, if I had to go pie chart of blame on why the Vikings are 4-8 this season, it's because of this guy right here, Kevin O'Connell. And if other fan bases are watching this, you're probably saying, man, that's just insane. KOC won Coach of the Year. He's the QB whisperer. You just aren't watching the Minnesota Vikings. You aren't following this football team because this guy, he is the most influential person in the organization. He is the biggest reason why the Vikings are where they are right now. He has refused to change his offensive scheme. He has had a huge say in draft picks, which the Vikings drafting have been absolutely terrible. But you guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Who is more to blame? Is it KOC or is it KAM? You guys, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. More to blame, Kevin O'Connell or Kwesi Adofo-Mensah? I do have some thoughts on this, but I want to get you guys' thoughts here first. Who is more to blame, KOC or KAM? Now, I do still believe that Kwesi deserves more blame than Kevin O'Connell, but also a lot of these Kwesi draft picks, like the coaching staff just hasn't developed them whatsoever. And that's on the head coach, and that's on the staff that he created. And we have just not seen any of Kwesi's draft picks develop whatsoever. Now, is it on Kwesi? 100%. He deserves a ton of blame. I think he should be gone as the Minnesota Vikings GM. He should have been fired Monday after the Seahawks game. When you go to Seattle and you get shut out for the first time since 2007 in this organization, and the fact that nobody was fired, that's not even on the head coach. That's not on the GM. That's on the ownership for just being okay with being mediocre, having no major changes. But this guy, he needs to go. But also, Kwesi might have hit on this guy. Ed Ingram this year has been absolutely fantastic. And us Vikings fans last year, and I was too, I should be held accountable as well. I was saying they got to let him go. They got to find a new fit at right guard. And they were starting Dalton Reisner over him last year. But then, hey, Ed Ingram, he goes to the Houston Texans, where it's not even like the Houston Texans have had good offensive lines, and he's having a great year. 6 overall in the National Football League in terms of his PFF grade, and he's 4th in the league in terms of run blocking, and it's not even in a small sample size. This guy's played the entire season, over 600 snaps at right guard for Houston. So a guy that Kevin O'Connell hired, Chris Kiper, he needs to get the hell out of Minnesota. I'm shocked he still has a job. This guy is one of the worst offensive line coaches in the NFL. We have never had a good offensive line under Kevin O'Connell. Now, clearly, we have had talent. Like, we have had Darrisaw. We have had Brian O'Neill. We've had a guy like Ed Ingram. We have had players who are quality NFL starters, but still the offensive line, it's a continuity position. It's a chemistry position. It still hasn't been good enough. Now, even this guy, Garrett Bradbury, it's not like he's been having a great year for New England, but he's a starting center on a team that is about to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. In the AFC, with Mahomes, with Josh Allen, with Lamar Jackson. This guy's a starting center for one of the best teams in the entire National Football League. He's not grading out incredibly well according to PFF, but still, our Patriots Today host says he's having a really good season, so I'll take his word for it over the guys at PFF. And it gets me back to this. The Vikings need to fully reset, but it will not happen. Like, I am so confident saying that the Vikings will not fully reset because we also have a bombshell report come from Ben Gessling. But the Vikings, they need to fully hit the reset button because what has gone on in this organization over the last 12 months has been absolute organizational malpractice. They are one of the worst and just most dysfunctional organizations in all of sports right now, and that's never been the case with the Vikings. They've always been a good organization. They've never been great, but now we're reaching a dysfunctional level that I never thought I would see, and it looks like it's not going to change. And this was the bombshell report coming in from Ben Gessling on the Vikings firing KOC and KAM, saying, you've seen times where people get replaced because an ownership group has said, hey, this has been enough. I don't think that's the point we're at here. The coach and the GM were both extended before the season. There's a lot of commitment made to Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I think they'll be here. But just in the accounting of it, when they're meeting with the ownership group and saying what happened here, they're going to have some hard conversations because this certainly has not gone anywhere near they wanted it to be. And yeah, absolutely it hasn't gone anywhere you wanted to be. You spent $350 million on this roster this year, the most cash spending out of any team in the NFL, even just specifically this last free agency cycle. The Vikings spent the second most amount of money compared to the New England Patriots. But it starts at the top. It starts with the Wilfs. This ownership group, they have given the Vikings organization a lot. They pour a lot of money into this team, and I respect that, and I appreciate that. But they are okay with making no major changes. They never want to roll the die. They never want to put their nuts on the table and say, hey, we're going to go hard in this direction. We're going to go hard in this direction. They don't want to make any drastic changes. It's just very disappointing being a Vikings fan, just seeing where we're at the current state of this franchise. But you guys, let me know your thoughts. Should the Vikings completely reset? Should they fire everybody? Should they go clean slate, promote Brian Flores as the head coach, get a Brian Dable as OC, maybe even bring back a Kevin Stefanski as OC? What say you on this one? Should the Vikings fire everyone and reset? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down below. Now we'll get to more here on Kevin O'Connell and J.J. McCarthy, but before we do so, I've got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. Now it is the holiday season, the best time of year for sports. Bowl games, basketball and football matchups, playoff pushes, it is all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. And if you guys download the PrizePicks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS. We'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks has a new feature called Early Payouts, where if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And PrizePicks, super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. And if you guys get your picks right, you could cash in. So get in on the action. PrizePicks is available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. And download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in that promo code CLNS. Get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But massive shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, so KOC this week at his dual weekly press conferences. He was talking about J.J. McCarthy a whole lot for obvious reasons. You know, this season really does come down to, number 9 developing. And KOC said this, again, kind of throwing his quarterback under the bus for the 100th time this season. He says it's purely about decision-making this week. play with understanding of the decisions I make with the ball in my hand to protect himself and make sure that we can keep him in there. And just reading kind of the tea leaves here, like KOC seems completely done with McCarthy. And, obviously J.J. hasn't played well. I'm not trying to get up on here and defend him and saying like, oh, he's playing, good quarterback play right now. The Vikings are getting some of the worst quarterback play in the league. But it's not like KOC has helped him out whatsoever. And he's honestly done the opposite of that. I think he has honestly screwed over his quarterbacks because I want to share with you guys these stats. These are the KOC run-pass splits over the last 4 seasons. It's a disgrace. It's a complete joke what this guy has done to these young quarterbacks. Back in 2022, okay, you got a veteran in Kirk Cousins. You have a shaky offensive line. You got some great weapons on the outside. I'm cool with you sitting back there and saying, hey, I'm going to throw the ball 63% of the time. That's cool. Did the same in 2023. So to change his philosophy a little bit in 2024, only passing the ball 58% of the time. But the fact that this, and I understand it is only 1% more than what it was in 2024, but the fact that there is an increase here from 24 to 25 is on that guy at the top of your screen right now, Kevin O'Connell. You are passing the football 59% of the time this year. That's one of the highest rates in the league. It is a joke because you have a young quarterback trying to develop. You're not making his life easier, and we've seen other head coaches. Ben Johnson, his quarterback Caleb Williams has not been good this season. But what does he do? He says, I'm going to run the ball over and over again. I'm going to get him some easy looks. Caleb Williams has a worse adjusted completion percentage this year than J.J. McCarthy. But Ben Johnson's winning games, so there's no excuse. Because Kevin O'Connell, he refused to change his offensive identity with a rookie quarterback. He still wants to be a drop-back passing team. He still wants to get explosive plays in the pass game. And what I thought was so funny, and KOC on his weekly podcast with Vikings play-by-play announcer Paul Allen, he was talking about it, and he was just saying, man, we need to get more explosives in the passing game. We need to have more big plays. Do we? We've been trying to get that the entire year, and it's clearly not working out. So you're just going to triple, quadruple down on what has been going wrong this year? It is just complete lack of self-awareness from the head coach, and this is just a bad marriage. Because if Kevin O'Connell's not going to change and the quarterback play is not going to change, then somebody needs to go. And I promise you this, because that report we got from Ben Goessling, it won't be Kevin O'Connell, and I'm convinced J.J. McCarthy won't play next year. They're going to kick the tires on a guy who they spent the 10th overall pick on and just chalk it up. Oh, it's all J.J.'s fault. Oh, it's all Max Brosmer's fault. It's not Kevin O'Connell's fault, even though he is the common denominator here, and he needs to go. He needs to get fired because I promise you this, with where this Vikings organization is at, we are at a turning point right now in the franchise. They're going to choose. Is it completely on the 22-year-old quarterback and the UDFA quarterback, or is it on the head coach? They're going to choose the quarterback, and I promise you, they're going to go out there this offseason. They're going to trade for Mac Jones. They're going to win 10 games next year, and they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs because you cannot win playoff games if you are a soft football team, if you don't have a run game, and that's the Kevin O'Connell way. You're soft. You don't run the ball. You like explosive plays in the passing game. And yeah, that's cool for winning games in September, October, November, even some games in December. But January football rolls around, and if you got to go into Chicago, if you got to go in the Lambeau Field when it's below freezing out, and you want to trust your young quarterback to throw the ball 35 times a game, it's a recipe for disaster. He needs to be held accountable. It's not going to happen. It's all sunshine and rainbows in Vikings land right now. The Wilfs, they're still making money. They don't care. They believe in Kevin O'Connell. They believe in Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and it's a disgrace, and I'm just kind of getting sick and tired of it. And he should go. Should promote Brian Flores, because the one thing about Flores that I do respect about his side of the football this year, those guys haven't quit. They've still been playing hard. But KOC's offense, they've tapped out. They could give two shits about how this season's going. They don't want to play for their head coach because it's the same old with KOC. It's the coach talk. It's just, dancing around questions at the press conference. It's giving almost too long of answers at press conferences because he doesn't want to get peppered with questions. He wants to have these long answers to these questions where he's only getting 4 or 5 every single press conference, and I'm sick and tired of it. He needs to go, but nothing's going to happen. And, there's my rant on the Minnesota Vikings. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Just hit me with the skull down below in the comment section, and we'll get on out of here. As always, Skull Vikes. Alrighty. Yeah, Wolves being way too patient, as always. Again, ownership in all sports, it matters. It's naive to say it doesn't. It's just the same old with this organization. But Joe coming in, what's going on, Kunaga, saying, do you think the Vikings should get Fernando Mendoza? I like Mendoza. I just don't think they're in any position to trade up for him. I mean, you're going to have to give up multiple first-round picks. Now, unless like KOC and Kwesi, and they're like, hey, this is our Drake May that apparently they absolutely loved. I was actually going back, and I looked at a report that was from right before the 2024 NFL draft, and it was like the Vikings view Drake May as the best player in this draft by a wide margin, and I guess they were right on that, so you want to give them credit there, but they also didn't do enough. Like, you could have went out and got Drake May if you wanted to. You could have sent the Patriots an offer they really can't refuse. I understand you offered 2 first-round picks that draft and 2 after. You could have thrown on a third. You could have thrown on another second. You could have thrown on 2 extra fours. You could have got it done. But again, they don't want to go all in. They want to kind of play in that middle road. They'll keep the delusional fans happy. But again, nothing's going to change, man. It's just the same old with this organization. And these 2 boneheads, they're going to keep on just making bad calls for this organization. And like this team, like you're spending $350 million on this roster. You're 4-8. And also Jaden Daniels is going to be back this week. I hope the Vikings lose by 30 this week. Like I really do. I'm at that point where I'm just like, why are we even rooting for wins? I'm in the line. I want to see if it flipped with Jaden Daniels being a full participant. Actually, no, the Vikings are still favored by 1.5. So if you guys want to make some money, go hammer Commanders money line this weekend. They hired a GM that came from the damn Browns. Yeah, you hired Andrew Berry's right-hand man. Andrew Berry is one of the worst GMs in the National Football League, and he thought that was a good decision. It's just insane. It's just insane. What's going on, Connor Vikings? Dark EXP in the building saying calling J.J. McCarthy a bust after 5 games is insane. I'm with you. It's just crazy. What are you going to do, though? What are you going to do? Nothing's going to change. We're going to go get Mac Jones. We're going to be the same damn team that we are every year. But if you guys do have a question for me, mailbag coming up here. Just use hashtag Vikings or super chat down below. I would really appreciate it if you guys could get those questions in there. Super chat like my guy Kunaga did. Or if you guys just want to ask a question, just make sure you do attach hashtag Vikings in the comment section. We'll make sure to throw it up on screen. But I do want to dive into our second segment. Dane Brugler had a mock draft, and Mel Kiper dropped his big board. So I do want to dive into that on today's show. So, again, get those questions in there. Use hashtag Vikings down below. And if you guys are ready to rock and roll, hit that thumbs up icon. We're at 60 likes right now. Let's see if we can get to 70 likes. That'll be awesome stuff. But, yeah, I'd appreciate it. Did you watch Jetta's press conference? Such a relief. I did. I actually respected what Jefferson said. Pretty much he was saying, like, hey, the reason I didn't talk after the Seattle game was, like, I would have said the same thing I said the previous week, which is fully true on Jefferson's side of things. But, again, he is just – again, we don't deserve him. Like, this shit show of an organization does not deserve Justin Jefferson. And, yeah, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Vikings fans because this ownership group does not care about you guys. Because they know we are delusional. They know we're going to spend money on, merch. They're going to still sell out every single game. And I hope for all the Vikings fans, and we only got 220 people in the building, but there are any of you guys going to the game this Sunday, and this offense goes 3 and out, 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 like they've done for the last 2 weeks. Boo their ass off the field. Because the one thing, I hate Philadelphia Eagles fans more than anything. The one thing I respect the hell out of them is that their standard's sky high. Like, they're 8-4. They're 10 months removed from winning a Super Bowl, and they're booing their team off the field because they understand it's a joke. But the Vikings fans are like, "Oh, guys, don't worry. We already won 4 games this year. It doesn't matter." It's a disgrace. It's just a disgrace. When does the trade demand happen for Jefferson? I mean, if he doesn't see improvement in McCarthy, or he doesn't trust Kevin O'Connell, like he would demand a trade this offseason. Now, I don't think it will ever be reported. I don't think Jefferson will ever go about it like that, but he may go behind closed doors to the front office and be like, hey, man, send me to the AFC. I need to get out of here. What are you going to do, though? What are you going to do? All right, let's dive into it. Dane Brugler's mock draft, Mel Kiper's draft big board. Let's talk about this upcoming draft for the Minnesota Vikings. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, Dane Brugler, one of the top NFL draft analysts, dropped a recent mock draft. So we'll share with you guys his pick for the Minnesota Vikings. And also Mel Kiper dropped his big board about a week ago, so I do want to dive into some of the top names that the Minnesota Vikings could draft. But first off, Kwesi and his crew can't control another draft. This is the worst drafting GM and staff in the entire National Football League. It has been a disgrace what they have done over the last couple of years, and the fact they aren't fired yet shows a lack of accountability within the Vikings organization. Ownership group does not care. Anything can happen. I mean, could you imagine at your own job? Like, imagine producer Dylan of the show. Imagine if Dylan just showed up to work every single week and just screwed up over and over and over again, and there was no accountability. What would happen? Dylan would probably get fired. But that's not the case with Dylan. Dylan kills it. But still, that's just an example. Like, imagine your own job. If you show up every single week and you just screw up over and over and over again, and, hey, job security, it's not a real thing in the Vikings organization. Everybody's good. It's all sunshine and rainbows. So we'll talk about this draft here in a second. But you guys, let me know your thoughts. Who's the dream draft target for your Minnesota Vikings? Let me know that name down below in the comments section. You guys, let me know your thoughts. I got a couple of guys here, but also depends if the Vikings are going to run the football. So you guys, let me know your thoughts. Who's your dream Vikings draft target? All right, so Dane Brugger, one of the best NFL draft analysts in the game, had the Vikings drafting Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love. Now, Jeremiyah Love's a hell of a player. He is the best player in college football, in my opinion. I think he's carried that Notre Dame team this year, and I think he would be a true, like, blue chip, star caliber running back. Like, I would have no doubt of, him not working out in the NFL or him not being a top 10 running back from day one in the National Football League, but it also depends on our head coach if he's going to change his philosophy. But this is what Dane Brugler had to say, saying like Downs, talking about Caleb Downs. Love is one of the best players in the draft, but his positional value will limit his landing spots in the top half of round one. Here, that just means the Vikings get value by adding the draft's most explosive offensive weapon, a versatile back who can help both the run and the pass games. And there's no doubt, Jeremiyah Love's an absolute dog. Like, you just throw on his, typical YouTube highlight reel, just look up Jeremiyah Love highlights. You guys can see it with your own eyes. This guy's a freak. He's been carrying Notre Dame for the last 2 seasons. He is one of the most explosive players in this draft. He's one of the best offensive players in this draft. However, this pick makes no sense for the Minnesota Vikings. It makes 0 sense because the head coach and his offensive scheme. Now, the only way I would be all in on this move if it meant KOC is going to change his ways. If you told me, hey, Patrick, Kevin O'Connell, if the Vikings get Jeremiyah Love, they're going to be an under center, run first team. Sign me the hell up. Because could you imagine if you had Jeremiyah Love in the backfield, Jefferson on the perimeter, Addison on the perimeter, and you had a head coach who loved to run the football? It doesn't matter who's that quarterback because this team would be successful offensively, but KOC is not going to change his ways. And the best example of that, is what he's done this year. The fact that in 2024, he threw the ball 58% of the time. In a season where also you won 14 games, so you're ahead in a lot of these games, still was throwing the ball over the lot. The fact that you have a higher increase this year compared to last with a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who's the youngest quarterback in the NFL, and a UDFA and Max Brosmer getting starts, and you're throwing the ball. I understand it's only 1% more, but that's an absolute crime right there from Kevin O'Connell. So listen, if we had Kyle Shanahan, if we had Ben Johnson, if we had Sean McVay, and Jeremiyah Love was there at pick number 11, man, sign me up. I'd be all in on it. I think the Vikings would be getting a gift from the NFL if you would drop to Minnesota, but it all comes down to Kevin O'Connell. So my answer to this question, I say should have a third option, or just like an asterisk right there, like type D for draft, only if Kevin O'Connell is going to change his ways. But you guys, let me know your thoughts. Would you draft Jeremiyah Love if you're the Vikings front office? Give me a D for draft. Give me a P for pass. You guys, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I would do it. Like, he's a hell of a player, but again, it only comes down to if KOC is going to change the way he does things in this offense. All right, coming up next year, I do want to look at some other names on Mel Kiper's draft big board. There's a lot of good ones out there, and this draft, the Vikings could go BPA. They could go position in need, so we'll kind of decipher all these guys here in a second. But before we do so, I got to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, if you guys head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and plug in promo code VikingsChat50 off, we'll hook you guys up with 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 whole year. Now, the fall season always feels like a reset between back to school, busy routines, and shorter days. Finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I love Factor. The chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. And why I love Factor is because they got more variety and more meals. Choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp, and no extra cost. And they also help you support your wellness goals. Enjoy even more GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. So head on over to factormeals.com/VikingChat50 off. Plug in promo code VikingChat50 off. We'll hook you guys up with 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code VikingChat50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. This offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. All right, let's dive into Mel Kiper's big board here. We're just going to go over a couple of names that are kind of in the slot where the Vikings are projected to be drafting in that 6 to 12 range. We're going to start off with a big fella up front, a guy who was supposed to be a top 5 pick before the year, but Mel Kiper's got him slotted in now at number 6, and that being Peter Woods, defensive tackle from Clemson. Now, this guy is a physical force. He kind of does remind me of Christian Wilkins when he was coming out of Clemson, just a big body, can be a great run stuffer. He can also, I think he's got more potential as a pass rusher as well than most people lead on, but he had 27 tackles so far this season in 2025, 2 TFLs, 2 sacks, 9 QB pressures. So this guy, I mean, he's a weapon on the interior. I think the Vikings could consider going defensive tackle here, especially if you do end up cutting Javon Hargrave or cutting or trading Jonathan Allen. So watch out for him. And then how about a wide receiver? How about Jordan Tyson here? Easy comparison for Vikings fans. This guy reminds me of Stephon Diggs a whole lot. Just the way he runs his routes, just the way he kind of navigates in and out of his breaks, like his hip fluidity really does remind me of Stephon Diggs. And one thing I always loved about Diggs is his late hands. Jordan Tyson's got the same thing, and you may be saying, well, Patrick, why would the Vikings draft the receiver with a premium draft pick? Well, let's just say you trade Jordan Addison before free agency. And if you trade Jordan Addison, like, you'll probably have a need at the wide receiver position, and I think Jordan Tyson would be a hell of a pick. I think he'd be a great complement to Justin Jefferson. You would probably create one of the better wide receiver duos in the National Football League, and Jordan Tyson, man, he's just got – I mean, he's just got dog mentality to him. Like, I love the way he plays. There are some, injury concerns, some character concerns there, but hopefully with Keenan Cardell, the wide receiver coach, he'll get the most out of him. But how about another great wide receiver? This wide receiver class is honestly sneaky loaded here. And how about a Carnell Tate? Now, another easy comparison for Carnell Tate. He reminds me of T. Higgins a whole lot. So if you kind of want to replicate what Chase and Higgins have going on in Cincinnati, Carnell Tate's your guy. Big body, boundary wide receiver. He's got super long wingspan. He's a great 50-50 catch guy. And he's got 39 catches on the year, going for over 700 yards, 18.2 yards per catch, with also 7 touchdowns on the season. But again, perimeter wide receiver. I don't know if he has the versatility of a guy like, Jordan Addison or like a Jordan Tyson. So I would assume Jefferson would hop in the slot a whole lot more if this would be the hypothetical pick for the Minnesota Vikings. But watch out for him. But my dream selection from Minnesota, and probably a dream selection for a lot of teams in the NFL, is the safety out of Ohio State. Another one of the best players in the country, probably the best defensive player in the college football right now, and that being Caleb Downs. This guy's a freak of nature, man. Started off his college career at Alabama, transferred to Ohio State, and this guy's just a playmaker. He can play in the run well. He's a versatile player as well. He can hop down in the box. He can guard slot wide receivers. He's just a playmaker, man. Like, you can blitz him. You can drop him in the deep halves. You can play him at some Mike linebacker, some will linebacker, literally any position on the defense he can play, and he would be he would be a dream for Brian Flores and the defensive crew for the Minnesota Vikings. But how about an offensive tackle? Now, only reason we're talking about offensive tackle here is because of Brian O'Neill. Now, Brian O'Neill, he's been very good this year. He's been very consistent, but maybe the Vikings, to get under the cap, maybe they end up trading him. Maybe they end up, restructuring or potentially cutting him. So Spencer Faenow of Utah, he's a hell of a prospect. A lot of guys in the NFL really do think his game's going to translate well to the next level, so that's another guy to look out on. But more guys from Mel Kiper's big board. We talked about Jeremiyah Love. Again, it's only going to come down to if KOC is going to change his ways. Then you got a smaller, slot-ish, kind of an Amon-Ra St. Brown style of wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon. I think Mekhi Lemon's an absolute dog as well, so watch out for him. But Francis Muwaga, another offensive tackle from Miami, he's a freak. But this guy, Kenyon Sadiq, freak of nature, man. You go turn on his highlight tape, you're going to see this guy hurdle about 15 dudes in about 2 minutes. He's just got a tenacious play style. honestly the complete opposite of TJ Hawkinson right now, where he's just a freak athlete. He's physical. He likes to get after it. He's definitely got to improve as a run blocker, but Oregon's also a physical football team because of their head coach, Dan Lanning. So I think he would add some physicality to this Vikings offense. But I think there's a lot of positions of need for this team. I think safety is definitely creeping up as one of them. I think tight end slowly is going to be one of the top positions of need because I think we can all say they're probably going to cut TJ Hawkinson. But you guys let me know, what is the biggest position of need on the Vikings? Drop your thoughts down below in the comment section, and we'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes. Alrighty. You guys let me know, what is the biggest position of need on the Minnesota Vikings? It almost seems like yesterday, Patrick was saying J.J. McCarthy is a sicko, a real sicko, founder franchise quarterback. What's going on? KOC is a top 3 head coach in the NFL. Patrick got on some meds and seeing it clear. I don't know if it was the meds making me see clear right now. I think it's just I'll say this, doing what we do here at Chat Sports, we make multiple videos every single day covering the team. So you are going to have a lot of bad takes out there. And, you could call it flip-flopping, and I hear you on that. I think it's more of, hey, you get new data, you get more information, you have a new take. I think if you asked anyone who watches the Minnesota Vikings, hey, compare how you feel about Kevin O'Connell now to how you felt about Kevin O'Connell 10 months ago, it's night and day. Screw that, not even 10 months ago, back in August before the season started. We all feel differently about our head coach. So I've been getting those comments a lot. Oh, I thought you loved McCarthy. I thought you loved Kevin O'Connell. I did, until we saw how the season plays out. And we're 4-8, and we have one of the worst offenses in the league. I would not be doing my job if I didn't tell you guys how it really was in this Vikings organization. And it's bad. It's bad. But Joe coming in saying, would you like the Vikings draft Mansour Delane? Absolutely. Physical corner. This guy, he is, I don't want to compare him to Xavier Rhodes, but I have seen that comparison thrown out there. Long corner, really good in press man. He's also got a badass name. Mansour Delane. So I would have some interest in him. But again, I haven't really looked too much at the draft because also Mansour is probably going to go probably in around the 15 to 25 range. So it would be kind of a reach for the Vikings if they took him in the top 10. But again, if you really like him, and you go out there and you go do it. He's with LSU right now. Started off his collegiate career with Virginia Tech. But again, we'll dive into a mailbag here in just a second. So if you guys got a question for me, hashtag Vikings or super chat to get up on today's show. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. But get those questions down below. Hashtag Vikings or super chat. I would appreciate it if you guys could get those questions in there. It doesn't matter who we draft. He's not a good coach. I never liked KOC. I always thought he was a bad hire. Listen, I think it would also be stupid to say, you didn't think Kevin O'Connell was a good coach after last year because, everything we knew about Darnold leading up to last season was he was one of the worst draft picks of all time by the New York Jets, but then KOC turned him around. Maybe Darnold just grew up a little bit. I think that's kind of the reality where it's hey, Darnold found his groove. Now Darnold also hasn't been playing good as of late, so we'll see. And if KOC builds a run-first offense, JJ will thrive like he did at Michigan. That's what we all thought it was. That's why I was high on this team because, listen, if you would have told me in August, hey, Patrick, before you get into the season, I just want to let you know, Kevin O'Connell's not going to change his offense for J.J. McCarthy at all. He's going to keep it the exact same way he did for Sam Darnold. I would say the Vikings are probably going to be a bad football team, and that's what happened. Because you asked J.J. to throw it all over the lot. He was a developmental pick at first. He's just setting him up for failure, which is bad. I don't know who. I forget who it was. Somebody was comparing J.J. to John Elway. I saw that on Twitter. I don't know who it was, but that was insane. I never really saw John Elway from J.J. I saw more of a more mobile Alex Smith, and that's a pretty damn good starting quarterback in the NFL. And I thought a mobile Alex Smith, even though Alex Smith was incredibly mobile before his big-time injury, but I thought it'd be better than what it is right now. But get those super chats in there. Get those questions in there. Just use hashtag Vikings down below. Would appreciate you guys getting those questions in there. JJ wants to scramble. Let him go and stop bullying him. Yeah, I'm with you. Kunaga, that's a good question. We'll answer that on the mailbag. Evan coming in saying, hey, Seeps. What's going on, Evan? Evan, we're about to dive into a mailbag here, so if you got a question, just use hashtag Vikings down below. Any coach that refuses to run the ball on 3rd and 1 is terrible? Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, just need an O-line. Got an O-line, guys. Like, that's not the issue here. Offensive line is not really a problem right now with the Vikings. Like, could you go maybe look for a long-term fit to replace Brian O'Neill? Yeah, absolutely. But, like, you got Darrisaw, you got Donovan Jackson, you got Will Fries. Like, you got 3 or 4 of the 5 where you're feeling great about them. Yeah, it's just bad. It's just bad. But hashtag Vikings down below. I need a couple more questions in there. So if you guys could drop those in the comment section right now, just make sure you guys use hashtag Vikings. Yeah, and I wish I would have seen this a little more. I think that's a good point by Vikings followers saying kind of like how Josh Dobbs got ruined by the system. Now, listen, I don't think Josh Dobbs is a quality starter by any means, but I remember KOC, like he adjusted his offensive scheme for like the first game with Josh Dobbs when he went into Atlanta. It was very vanilla. He was like, hey, I'm just going to let you go play kind of backyard football, which is kind of suiting the strengths of Josh Dobbs. I remember that Raiders game. KOC was trying to treat Josh Dobbs like he was like he was Kirk Cousins. His passes were inaccurate, but also KOC was asking him to chuck the ball around the field. Make Brian Flores the head coach, fire KOC, bring in Dable and get a vet QB for J.J. to learn. I'm with you. Why the media don't drag KOC? I don't know. I try to drag KOC, and I get yelled at for calling him out. Could have made the playoffs with Dobbs and KOC, force him to play like Kirk Cousins? Absolutely. Absolutely. My eyes have been open to Kevin O'Connell. My dad and uncle have been yelling at me about this for some time now, and I wish I just trusted them a little more. But it is what it is. But, all right, let's dive into this mailbag. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Keep on getting those questions in there. We're going to need a couple more, so if you guys could super chat, get up on the show, or just drop a hashtag Vikings with your comment in the live chat right now and make sure to pull it and discuss it on today's mailbag. If you guys remember, the Vikings were 7-6 that season with Dobbs, and KOC just, I don't know if it was a blatant tank job or whatever that was, but it just wasn't good. Wasn't good. Again, KOC is one of the most stubborn, people I've ever seen in the sports world ever. He just does not change. No matter who's in there. Like if I was signed for the Vikings tomorrow and I was the starting quarterback this Sunday, Kevin O'Connell would say, hey, Patrick, we're just going to run the same offense we've been running. Just go out there, do your thing. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. That's what's so frustrating. Like, listen, if we were here where we are and KOC completely changed his offense and it was truly like, hey, JJ's just not that guy, which he very well could be. Like, it's going to be hard for JJ to really turn this around, but if KOC would have changed his ways and we still would have been struggling, it would have been a lot different of what we're talking about. But, yeah, we'll see. All right, let's dive into this mailbag. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Keep on getting those questions in there. If we're in the mailbag and want to guarantee your spot, just send a super chat down below. But let's do it. It is mailbag time here on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. It's my favorite show I do every single week, where it's just me and you guys chopping it up about the Minnesota Vikings and discussing really what went wrong here in Minnesota. And the first question coming in from Vikings legend, actually, Jared Allen, saying, who is a dark horse QB target for the Minnesota Vikings? Hashtag Vikings. A dark horse QB target. So I think like the favorite right now is no doubt like a guy like Mac Jones. There's a lot of reports out there that the Vikings are going to be interested in him this upcoming offseason. But if I go dark horse QB target, give me a little Trevor Lawrence. And I'm not saying I would bring in Trevor Lawrence because obviously you have to somehow work out that contract. But if you want like an archetype of quarterback that will fit Kevin O'Connell's system, which the Vikings, they've made it clear they're not going to move off KOC. So if you want a quarterback that's going to fit your head coach's system, like Trevor Lawrence is the archetype of quarterback, like big body, 6'5", big presence, can attack the middle of the field. Now, is Trevor Lawrence that good of a quarterback? I don't really think so. But I do think if KOC got Trevor Lawrence, like, we would probably win 10, 11 games and would fizzle out in the playoffs. Kind of how I feel about Mac Jones. But dark horse QB target for the Vikes, give me Trevor Lawrence. Joe saying, do you think the Vikings should get Fernando Mendoza? I do not. I do like Fernando Mendoza as a prospect. Even when he was at Cal, like people were talking about him potentially being a first-round pick last year. Now, would have been, who the hell knows how that would have played out. But he's getting the #1 overall pick buzz this year because of the year he's having at Indiana. He's fantastic. He kind of reminds me of like a guy like Jared Goff, where if like everything's protected well, everything's on time, on script, like he could be a hell of a quarterback. But do I think the Vikings should get him? Probably not, because you're going to probably be drafting around that 7 to 12 range. So the move up from like 9 to 1, for example, you're going to have to attach multiple first-round picks, maybe even a player. Now, maybe if you tell me like, hey, the trade package is 2 firsts and Jordan Addison to get up to 1, and maybe the Tennessee Titans would rather have a proven receiver in Addison than a first-round pick, maybe that could end up being the case, but I just don't think it's too likely. And I just don't think that would be the right move for the organization. Blake Weary saying, I love how the day after I told you we should have draft Love, every Vikings YouTube started posting about the Vikings should go draft Jeremiyah Love. Yeah, I remember that. Notre Dame running back. He's an absolute stud. And Blake, like, listen, I'm with you on the Vikings drafting Love. Like, if you told me, Patrick, KOC will change his offense, we'll be downhill, we'll be run first, give me Jeremiyah Love, because you could still trust Brian Flores to figure out that defense, even though safety and corner is a big position in need. But if you said, hey, they're going to be a downhill team, they're going to run the piss out of the football, Jeremiyah Love's that guy. Now, Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst, did have the Vikings taking Love in his recent mock draft, so could be some interest there on the Vikings front. But again, it all comes down to KOC. Like, if KOC is going to run the same offense he's running right now, like, it's not like the Vikings don't have good running backs right now. Like, I still think Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones have had solid years when they do get the chance to run the football, but they don't really get the chance to run that much. And I think also with a guy like Love, and I'm not comparing him to Adrian Peterson, but kind of this way where it's like, I mean, if you guys remember AP back in the day, it would be like, all right, I'm getting 4 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards. Then it's like late in the third quarter. It's early fourth quarter. He'll break one off for like 60, 70 yards. And you look up, it's like, man, AP averaged 8 yards per carry that game. That's kind of how Jeremiyah Love is. Like, he's just going to keep on slow burning you, and then he'll break one at the end of the game, and it'll end up being a hell of a day for him. But yeah, I would love Jeremiyah Love. But again, it comes down to KOC. Easton saying, make Brian Flores head coach, fire KOC. OC, bring in Brian Dable, and we get a vet QB for J.J. to learn. I like that plan. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I don't think there's a chance in the world that Kevin O'Connell is fired. I mean, Ben Gessling said he would be shocked if either of the two main members of the Vikings organization, Kwesi or KOC, are fired this cycle. So I don't think it's going to happen. But also, you gotta understand this. Like, another reason why I would be more open to the Vikings firing KOC is because I don't want Flores to go anywhere. Like, you think about it, there are going to be probably 5 head coach openings. Like, there's 2 right now. There's going to be a lot more. And Brian Flores is going to be at the top of a lot of these lists just because of how good he's been this season, how unique his defensive scheme is. So I would do it. But again, I just don't think it's got any chance of happening because the Wolves just aren't going to do it. They aren't going to pay Kevin O'Connell to go coach somewhere else. It's just not in their DNA. They're also not going to pay Kwesi to just leave the organization. So again, nothing's going to change. It's just the same old Minnesota Vikings. But you guys let me know, who will be QB1 for the Vikings next season? I've been saying it's going to be Mac Jones. I'm very much against that, but there's a lot of writings on the wall there. So I think it's going to be Mac Jones with JJ as the backup. But if you guys disagree, if you guys do think it's going to be JJ or anybody else, maybe if it's a Trevor Lawrence, a Kyler Murray, one of these guys, get creative for me and let me know your thoughts down below. All right, we'll get to more of you guys' questions here in just a second, but today's episode is brought to you guys by PrizePicks. Now, it is the holiday season, and it's the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball and football matchups, playoff pushes. It is all happening at once. And when you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today, plug in promo code CONS, and get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, PrizePicks has a new feature, and it has early payout. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And PrizePicks, it's also very simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. And if you guys get your picks right, you could cash in. So I have this link for you in the comments section and description of today's show. but download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I think we might just have to cut off the mailbag here. We got 9 coming in with a question, and it's J.J. McCarthy in a Bulls jersey. If you guys don't know, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, so this is just a double dose of just a stab in the heart right now. This question, this is hilarious. Should the Vikings trade a second round pick for Mac Jones? I don't think they can. I got to get my head out of the gutter here. That's just too much. I don't think they should, as we're doing this live. People are laughing. This is unbelievable. Can I just say something first? Something first off. I can't even talk right now. This threw me off. The J.J. McCarthy memes of him meme mugging in the locker room, you think about the Vikings and how bad this season has been. We have created the new term, soft benching. We have created the new meme of the year, which is J.J. McCarthy. I promise you, whoever loses the Super Bowl this year, they're going to get a Photoshop with J.J. McCarthy, and it's just unbelievable. Should they trade a second-round pick for Mac Jones? I don't think so because, hey, you're going to win 10 games. You're going to lose in the playoffs right away. But, yeah, that's all I got to say. Shout out to freaking 9 up top. Joe coming in saying, do you think 9, Jesus, will ever be our franchise quarterback? I have, PTSD when I hear 9 now. It's honestly worse than, the 6, 7 jokes that I see kids having. Anytime I hear 9, here, Joe, being a good dude, sending a $4.99 super chat, I just see 9, and it's I feel like I'm a war veteran hearing, gunshots in the background. I don't mean to disrespect, any veterans out there. Obviously, you guys, it's not even close to, me hearing 9, but it is unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. But, Joe, I appreciate you saying, do you think 9 will ever be our franchise QB? Who knows? It doesn't look like it right now, but he's also only played 6 games. If you want to take an optimistic view, the team around him hasn't been too good this season. KOC hasn't done him any favors whatsoever. I think he's still got a chance. I'm not going to completely sell my stock on McCarthy just yet, but we'll see. Reed Southern saying, if we could go back in time to the trade deadline, should we have traded for someone? I don't think we should have traded for someone. I think we should have traded people off this team. You should have tried to trade Hargrave. You should have tried to trade Jonathan Allen, TJ Hawkinson. Should have tried to get him off the team. Even a guy Josh Oliver just signed a pretty big extension. Just at least clear some cap, get some future draft capital. I think I would have had some interest there. But in terms of them trading for somebody, maybe a veteran quarterback, maybe a Jameis Winston wouldn't have been a bad call. But yeah, I don't think the Vikings were in any position to trade future draft capital at the deadline for, frankly, anybody with how bad the season has gone. We for sure do not need Kyler Murray, in my opinion. That would be terrible. Need someone with pocket presence. And also, Kyler Murray, he doesn't go under center. You're not going to win games with a QB not going under center. We have seen Caleb Williams this year. He's under center more than almost any other quarterback in the NFL besides actually Jared Goff, funny enough. But yeah, Kyler doesn't go under center. I don't think he would be a good fit with this offense, considering KOC wants to attack the middle of the field like a madman and just hit those 15-yard ends over and over again, and that's not really Kyler's strength. If the Vikings were if you had an offense like the Seahawks offense back in the day where you're getting under center with Russell Wilson, you're handing off to Marshawn Lynch, and you're just dropping these moon balls over the top. Kyler does have that, and then you also let your quarterback play some backyard football. Would have some interest there with Kyler, but yeah, that's no interest there on Kyler as well. Joe saying, would you like the Vikings to draft Mansour Delane? This is the LSU corner. He's about 6'1". He started off his collegiate career at Virginia Tech, but this guy's a dog. He's got some swagger to him, which I always love at the cornerback position. I haven't looked into him too much just yet, but from the draft guys, I do appreciate and do trust. They're big fans of Mansour Delane. But again, maybe this is a good trade back option for the Vikings. If they do get the 8th overall pick, they trade back to 15, 16 for a team trying to trade up for a quarterback, like the Steelers, for example. Maybe that's a hypothetical we should discuss one day on the channel. Then I would 100% have Mansour Delane on my draft board. Love Golf 20606 saying, when does a trade demand happen? Talking about Justin Jefferson. I mean, it could happen this offseason. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, I would not be shocked if Jefferson goes to the front office and says, hey, guys, like, I wrote it out with you. I really tried to trust this process here, and it just hasn't gone well. Like, I could see Jefferson for sure demanding a trade. And, I don't think it would also be something where, like, I don't think we'll ever get a report from, like, Adam Schefter being like, oh, my God, the Vikings somehow or Jefferson requested a trade from the Vikings. Like, I don't think that report would ever come out. I think they would do it behind closed doors, and then we'll just get, like, that one bombshell notification. It's like, oh, Jefferson went to the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, one of these teams in the AFC, but I don't know if we'll ever get a true trade demand from Jefferson, and I could be very wrong on that, but I just don't really think that is how he operates and how his camp operates. Like, I feel like they're very big on Jefferson's image, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just kind of the reality of the situation with how he's kind of handled himself so far in the NFL. We do got Shimshack Collectibles. What's going on, man? Sending a $20 super chat. Appreciate you. Saying, honestly, Vikings lost this season. Just let 9 go out there and finish up the season and just play. J.J. did say in his press conference today that KOC and McCown told him to honestly stop caring about his mechanics and just go out there and play football, which could pay some good dividends here over the last couple of weeks. But he also says number 18 will be staying. Just stir up the pot. Let's get Mac Jones and Hawk needs to go. Steve's your rock, brother. Appreciate you as always, Shimshack. Always supporting the show. So I do just want to say thank you there. But just to stir up the pot, you want to go get Mac Jones. Listen, I think it's going to happen, Shimshack. Like, I think they're going to go out there. They're going to try to stay mediocre. They're going to try to go get that playoff appearance. They're not going to try to go get a playoff win if you got Mac Jones. But even if you got, like, that playoff win, you're not winning a Super Bowl with Mac Jones and Kevin O'Connell. Like, that quarterback head coach combination is not going to do it. And also, who says Mac Jones would be good in this offense? Like, really? Like, Mac Jones, he's with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan loves to run the football. Like, it is completely different than what KOC likes to accomplish. So, yeah, I'm against Mac Jones, but I'm also with you. Hawk needs to go, and hopefully number 18 does end up staying. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to today's mailbag. Just hit me with those skulls, and we'll get on out of here. We'll be live for the game against the Commanders this Sunday. But as always, let's go Vikes. All righty. What's going on, everybody? We'll answer Elijah's, and we'll get on out of here. Saying, Pat, Jets finally speaking to media. What do you think? Was it a good decision for Jets to duck from media due to the frustration? He kind of addressed it head on. He said, guys, I was frustrated. I would have just said the same thing I said the previous week. So I honestly think it was a good thing. Like, he was probably so frustrated after that game because, number one, he's a team-first guy. He got shut out. Like, his offense, he got embarrassed in Seattle going up against his former quarterback. So he was frustrated. But also, he just had 2 catches for 4 yards. It's the first time in his career he had under 10 yards. Like, obviously he was pissed off. Yeah, I think it was the right call for Jefferson to kind of play it safe. Yeah, Brozama. I just hear 9. It's just like, it's just PTSD, man. You think the season would have been different if JJ never said he calls himself 9? Who knows? Would you trust me as a GM more than Kwesi? Probably. I trust a lot of you guys watching more than Kwesi. Definitely not Rocky, though. Absolutely not. All right, we're going to get on out of here. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We'll be back live for the game on Sunday. But really, shout out to all the real ones. You guys support the show in great fashion, even though the Vikings are 4-8 and it's a disaster. So seriously, thank you guys so much. I know this is not fun, but it's kind of like misery loves company a little bit. It's just like a event session every single time we go live here. So I do appreciate all of y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll get on out of here. As always, let's go Vikes.